What is up, guys? My name is Will, and welcome to what is tentatively called What Greatness Demands. I'm here with Tyler Johnson. I've been working with Tyler for about over a year now. We started working together in about April of 2022.
Yep.
So, maybe 2023. I can't remember the exact time, but we worked together a long time. Tyler is just a very accomplished man. He's got a lot of accolades, and I could list a lot from. Tyler and I are basically the same age. You're 28 now, and
29.
29. He's
Just
29.
turned 29. Yep.
Let's freaking go.
Yeah.
And Tyler's accomplished a lot. He has a lot of big ambitions, and we're going to dive into just what greatness means.
I love it. I'm excited.
So let's start, Tyler. Introduce yourself. Kind of give a good introduction to your life story, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into your story of greatness.
Yeah. So my name's Tyler Johnson. I started Venture West back in August of 2020. So that's the first company that I ever started. Besides, I had a couple other companies that I started when I was younger. I had a barbecue company. So I'd actually smoke pork butts to go out and raise money specifically for a mission for my church, to be able to go on a mission and pay for that. So I guess it wasn't the first company, but official company that I started was Venture West back in August of 2020. Now we have a few different companies. So we have Venture West, that is a flight school here in Mesa, Arizona, which is at Falcon Field Airport. And then also we have a couple other businesses, Aviator Edge, which is a online education platform for pilots and just an overall community for pilots. And then we also have a tech product that we started called Helo. That is a scheduling, a dispatch product, as well as a flight planning product. So we've started that, and then we've now recently got into a little bit of real estate. So we started buying up some fourplexes so that our some of those out of town students that are coming into Venture West can have a place to stay and live. So we've got a few different companies or businesses running, but it's fun. It's exciting.
Let's freaking go.
I love being an entrepreneur,
much
like yourself. So there's freedom there. Love it.
Dude, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
We do it for freedom.
Yeah.
At least that's why I do it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah.
But that's insane. You listed like 4 incredibly exciting ventures and projects that you have working on, and which is sweet. Let's dial it back though early. What was your first job? Like where did work begin for Tyler?
Yeah, so work began as a pool boy.
Oh no, you were the pool boy.
Yep.
Oh man. And in Arizona too?
In Arizona, yeah.
You were the Arizona pool boy.
Yep. Arizona pool boy.
That's sweet.
Born and raised. So born and raised in Arizona. Post high school, I went on a mission for my church.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got back from my mission is when I started cleaning pools.
Mm-hmm.
And did that for about 4 years.
Okay.
And then that's when I decided to jump into aviation.
Okay, sweet. So typically people go on their mission when they're 18.
Yep,
right?
I was 18.
So you were 18 when you went on your mission. Mission was 2 years.
Yep.
So you're starting work at 20.
Starting work at 20, yep.
That's sweet. And then primarily summers, winters, when was your like cycle at pools?
Yeah, I got back from my mission, I think it was September or October. Somewhere in that range. And then I pretty much started cleaning pools right after that.
Dang. Okay. So you started off nice in the winter season. So
Yes.
it's like 80 degrees.
Yes.
And then those summers kind of hit and stuff like that. Were you still working like 40 hours a week in like June and July that year? Oh my gosh.
So we were working at around 35, 40 hours a week.
Jeez.
So I would start my day at pretty much 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We would go out, and my brother and I both were doing it.
Yeah.
And so we would literally have headlamps on and turn the pool light on so we could start early so we didn't have to work in the heat of the day.
Yeah.
So we would get off around 11, 12
a.m.
p.m.
Oh, p.m. Oh my gosh. 5 a.m. to 11 or 12 p.m.
Yeah.
So like there was
most days. Some days were a little bit longer.
And it was just straight grind.
Straight grind
The whole time. So that's insane.
Yeah.
So you were in the heat of it. You were just like going, those are long days. That's if you do 5 to 5 is 12. And then add 6 more. So you're doing 18-hour days.
Yeah.
And
well, it's more 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon.
Noon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not,
Noon.
not necessarily 12 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had my numbers mixed up there. So that's still 7 hours.
Yeah, 7
7 hours, and it gets hot. It's already hot, and it's 7:43 a.m. in Arizona right
Yeah.
now. So that's insane. So that's where your work ethic kind of started to develop. You
Yeah.
say, well, work ethic started on the mission because missions are very tough, and
Yeah.
and you go through that space, and you get home, and then you're like, I still want to do hard things.
Yeah. I would say work ethic, to be honest with you, started in high school.
Okay.
So I was very much a sports individual. I loved playing sports.
Yeah.
I played several different sports. Did some track, some men's volleyball, football, baseball, basketball,
Dang.
golf. Kind of dabbled in a lot of different sports. I loved playing sports. But even prior to that, even when I was younger, my parents definitely raised me to be a hardworking individual.
Yeah.
And I had chores around the house, right?
Yeah.
So we had horses, cows, dogs, everything you could kind of imagine.
Yeah.
And I started from a young age rodeoing. And so I rodeoed up until I was probably about in the 7th grade. And then
Rodeo as in
that's-
like ride bulls.
Not ride bulls.
Okay.
I wish.
When
I
I hear
wish.
rodeo, I'm like, dude, what the
No,
heck?
but like just riding horses in general, roping,
Roping, dang.
goat tying, all that kind of stuff.
That's
So I did that up until I was about in the 7th grade.
Mhm.
And then after that, that's when kind of sports took over.
Yeah.
So then I started playing sports. But when I was in high school, I remember some days I love my mom. She helped me out so much. And my parents in general just paid for so much of my training throughout high school for sports. But I would wake up at 3:30 in the morning and drive to Scottsdale and go train with an elite coach out there.
Dang.
And then I would drive back to Queen Creek, go to school, because I had
Dang.
school right after that. So I'd go to school and get to school by 7 a.m. And then I'd have school, and then I would go to football practice right after school.
So you were living in Queen Creek at the time?
Queen Creek,
Yeah.
drive to Scottsdale.
That's insane.
Train for an hour, come home, get ready for school, go to school.
That's at least a 40-minute drive
Yeah.
there. And plus adding in traffic and all of that
Yeah.
during the day. That's an insane schedule
So
every
that's
day.
really where the work or the drive, the motivation to be great, the work ethic really started.
Yeah. Was there someone that you looked up to in that time where you're like, or let's go back even further. Who is the first person that you were like, wow, that person is great? Like when you understood what greatness was and you were like, this person embodies what I think greatness is, or I look up to this person, I'm inspired by this person.
Yeah, to be honest, it would be my parents. My parents are great individuals, and they're just motivated. They're driven, and they're successful. And so I really look up to them, and they are the ones who taught me everything in life. You know, how to work hard. And I think greatness is a byproduct of your work ethic. So if you're willing to show up every single day, if you're willing to get 1% better every single day, then you're going to be great no matter what.
I love that. And you saw that in your parents?
I saw it in my parents 100%.
Yeah. What did your parents do? Like what was their...
So my parents, growing up, my dad was a police officer.
Let's go.
And then my mom was pretty much just a stay-at-home mom, but she also cleaned houses on the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to, throughout the day, just to have something to do. But my dad, he grinded throughout his whole entire life. And he provided a great living for my family and myself, as well as now he has a great, comfortable retirement.
That's awesome.
To be able to live off of. And so now he goes and does other things on the side. So he retired pretty early in life. I think he was around 52, and gets a great pension, and now does things on the side. So,
That's awesome. And I think one of the key things I take away from this whole like little segment is just the legacy aspect of greatness. And I had a different like family life. Like my father was the opposite of what I would classify as greatness.
yeah.
And I want to be like your dad is. Like I want my kids to be motivated and have hard work. I want to change that like generational curses and family tree so that way I can instill and inspire greatness into my kids. Because like while you had a lot of advantages, you work hard for it every single day.
Yeah.
You go after to make it your own. You're not like relying on like an inheritance or things like that. You're like, no, I'm committed to going and getting this and being that for my family. And knowing that was instilled by your parents and your dad's work ethic shows how important legacy is, and how you can give legacy of hard work and greatness to your kids without them being corrupted.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what you have to remember is you can do anything that you set your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go achieve something, you can do it.
Yeah.
The only person that's going to stop yourself from accomplishing it is yourself.
Yeah.
So like right now, right, there's so many things in business that I still have to learn. There's so many areas in my life that I have to improve.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, that starts with getting up early. Right? And so we talk about this constantly, you and I. But I'm up at 4 a.m. Either I'm at the gym or I'm at work by 4:30.
Yeah.
And then I try and put in at least a 10-hour day at least.
Yeah.
I try and push longer than that, but
If Sarah lets you.
yeah, Sarah, if my wife lets me. But nonetheless, that's an area of my life that I want to improve.
Yeah.
Being there for my family, being there for my kids. Those are the individuals that I love hanging out with, that I love spending my extra time with, and time in general with. And so it's, if you're going to have a 10-hour day and you want to do all these things, right, then you got to wake up early. And that's where it all starts for me, at least, is getting up early, getting to work, getting my stuff done for the day, putting in that 10 to 12-hour day, and then getting home to the family to be able to spend time with them.
I love that. And when I classify who someone is great, I think family life is up there in your priority list. There's a few things that I have where it's like, if I'm identifying greatness in someone else, I'm like, hey, what is their capacity of greatness? What is their ability to because I want to be great, and you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so you want to surround yourself with driven and great people. So I've identified, hey, here are things that I look for when I'm having a conversation, and you can typically pick them up pretty quick.
Yeah.
But family is one of those core things, and we'll touch back on family. But let's continue with the story. So Mission, pools, and then that was for 4 years, grinding in the summer, 5 to 11, 12 in the afternoon. What was that transition from pools into aviation? Like, what inspired you? What was the kind of catalyst? I was like, dude, this is what I want to do. And what was that process like?
Yeah, so I always wanted to fly. I always thought flying airplanes would be awesome to do for a career. But I didn't want to spend the money because it was a lot of money to be able to go to flight school.
Yeah.
And so that was really kind of the setback, was just the amount of money it was going to cost. But I was just looking into it a lot more one afternoon, and I started seeing how much pilots get paid in the airlines. And I was like, you know what?
You're like, dude, these dollars look pretty sick right here. All right.
And the demand was huge. The demand still is huge for pilots. And so that was really what motivated me. Was I always wanted to do it, but at the same time, the money was a huge driving aspect of it. Because the return on investment was awesome. So went to flight school.
Was there one person that introduced you, or were you just doing research and you were like, dude, I found it. This is the decision I want to make. You're a first generation pilot.
Yeah, I was really just doing research mainly. And then my wife, Sarah, had a friend. His name was Sam Bodden, and I ended up going over to his house and talking to him a little bit more about the opportunities available in aviation. And then he really opened up my mind, and that's when I decided, pretty much right there on the spot when I was talking to him, that this is what I wanted to do.
Side note, the highest performing ad for Venture West Aviation is Sam Botman's pilot shortage.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think that's super funny. Sam Botman's a great guy, pilot for Southwest.
Yeah, Sam's a pilot. He was a pilot for Southwest. He recently transferred over to American.
American. That's where I'm an American fanboy. My sister is a flight attendant for Delta. Super side notes. Sister's a flight attendant for Delta, and so I was Delta hardcore all my life. I lived in Atlanta. That's the hub. You fly. If you're not flying Delta, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But since I moved to Phoenix, where it's an American hub, and I started using American, and I was like, I don't really need the screen, but American, I've maybe had 3 delays, and I fly 3 times a month.
Yeah.
So I do love American. So shout out Sam, great job. Anyway, going back to that was a super tangent side note, but sweet. So you met with Sam, had that conversation. He opened your eyes, and then you did the research, and now you're starting to look into flight schools and go. So
Yep. Starting to look into flight schools. And chose ATP at the time. So ended up going to ATP, was at ATP for around 7 months, got
Yeah.
my private instrument commercial ratings, passed all my check rides successfully, which was in fact due to hard work, because it does take a lot of work to go through flight school. After that, ended up transferring to several different other schools. I just didn't feel like ATP was helping me become the best instructor or pilot I could possibly be. And so went to quite a few different schools around the valley, and then met a mentor. His name was Pritz. He ended up mentoring me through my CFI, teaching me how to develop lesson plans, teaching me how to develop a curriculum and do it the right way and be a good instructor.
Yeah.
And from there, once I got my CFI and my double I, which are your certificates to be able to instruct student pilots, COVID hit.
Oh, rip.
Yeah.
Great timing on that.
Yep. So COVID hit, and that's the point at which I decided, with my current partner, to buy an airplane and start teaching students, more like on a freelance level.
I love this. Like, no, we're gonna take even a bigger risk on top of this is already a very risky season in the world and just humanity.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a bigger risk and we're going to start this business. What was that thought? Were you scared, or was your wife like, don't do this? Was she like, do it? Like, what gave you the confidence to go through and make a tough choice in the face of a global pandemic?
There was no fear. I'll be honest with you. There was definitely no fear at all. I just knew it was something that had to get done, and I couldn't get a job, and I just spent $100,000 to go to school, and so I was like, "We're doing it." So, you know, at the time, I didn't have the money. You know, I was broke. I was a broke student, and so I went out and found people that would be willing to invest into me to help me start this whole entire venture. And
That's
so,
awesome.
but yeah, my wife was completely supportive, and I think that's the best thing that you can have in your life, is an individual that can be in your corner to support you through the thick and thin.
Yeah.
And that's all Sarah, my wife, has ever been to me, is just a support system. So whatever I want to do in life, she's always there to help drive me and push me to get better, and which is everything you need in a spouse. But yeah, no fear, no fear at all. Like I said, couldn't get a job anywhere. Nobody was hiring as far as instructor positions. And so,
An instructor position is a main way to build those hours.
that's pretty much the only way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other ways to be able to do it, like doing parachute operations out of Coolidge, or going and flying tours over the Grand Canyon, or aerial surveying. But those jobs are few and far between, and very hard to come by, and very competitive. And there's so many people that don't want to instruct. And so then they go that route, which is good, because if you don't want to instruct, then don't, you know, go into that environment and then affect students that are trying to get a good education, right?
Yeah, you got to have the heart of a teacher.
Yeah, you got to have the heart. You got to have the passion behind it. And so pretty much, yeah, no other route. So my partner and I, Dave Lyons, and myself, we decided to buy this airplane. So
that's sick.
Which is cool.
And then started at one airplane, 2020. We're now 4 years later, 2024. So, and you have how many airplanes now?
Yeah, so we have 16 currently.
16 airplanes so 16X in 4 years. Insane.
To be honest, it was 16X in a year.
In a year.
So we
that's a fast year.
Yeah. We bought the airplane in August of 2020. We upgraded the avionics. So that took about 6 months roughly.
Yeah.
And then I'd say a little bit less than that, 4 or 5 months. After that, I started to instruct. So I started just instructing out of that airplane. I ended up going to a Southwest pilot's house and pitching some students. So I got a couple students from that.
Yeah.
But really, it was just word of mouth that I had this airplane, that my partner and I had this airplane at Falcon Field, and that we were just instructing. And so during this time, I wasn't, making the most money.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do sales on top of it. So I would instruct in the morning, and we at this point had our first kid, Copper.
So you're having a kid on top of this crazy situation. So you're going into COVID,
Yeah.
starting a flight school, getting help purchasing a plane, which obviously is probably stressful in and of itself, hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a plane.
Yeah.
And then getting jobs, having a daughter. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah. So going into debt to go to school.
And that's 4 years later. So you're 25.
Yeah. It's around, 25. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
So going into debt, having a daughter,
Going into
25
debt for
years
school,
old.
going into debt to buy an airplane,
Oh,
going
man.
into debt to have a kid because they are so expensive.
Oh, man.
But they're so awesome.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It was crazy.
That's a wild time.
And so at this time, I felt like, man, I better, start doing something else, because my wife was working at the time, so we wanted her to be able to quit and just focus on Copper.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went out and got a sales job, which was probably the best thing I could have ever done.
Yeah.
Was do sales, door-to-door sales. It taught me so much about sales, for one, and work ethic as well. Right?
Yeah.
It takes so much energy and effort to go out and hit the pavement and knock doors day in and day out. And so, that was, I think I was 25 when all this was going on.
That's insane. And that's actually how we met, was through door-to-door sales opportunity. I worked corporate. Tyler was an elite sales rep, actually, always on the leaderboard. So that's another testament to the work ethic, because sales is hard in general, but to be an elite sales rep and to be at the top at the time, that also takes another level of grind and level. So that's how you're funding kind of life, is your door-to-door sales opportunity with a bigger picture in mind, which I think most people who go into that realm, it's the launch pad. It's the stepping stone of, you get in, you're like, hey, I need X amount of dollars. I need to generate income, and I want to add a lot of value to others in a short period of time or an extended period of time, but I want to help the most people. And so that's elite.
Yeah.
Elite. It takes a lot to knock doors.
Knocking doors. It takes a lot to knock doors.
Yeah. I remember I sold pest control in 2018. That was my first summer and only summer knocking. But dude, you knock on these doors and these guys are freaking cussing you out over absolutely nothing. Like you could just tell. And it broke my heart, because I have such a passion for people, and these people were just so angry and bitter over just life.
Yeah.
And they needed some way to channel it. And so I knocked on their door, and they would just I'm cussing you out. You're the worst human ever. You're trying to take advantage of me. And they just have this such a bitter, and there are a lot of sleazy salesmen out there. And so I get that. It does put a bad taste. Hopefully, or I wasn't like that. Majority of people that I've met aren't as sleazy. I doubt you were dishonest on the doors.
Nope.
But because there are a lot of people have this wall, and then they're just so bitter towards life. And it's dude, I would love to find a way to affect change and increase, finding those people, and how do I make their life better and improve? Because it just breaks my heart knowing that there are people who are just so angry to where some random person knocks on their door and they just want to yell at them but that's what you get in door to door.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Do you have a memory from your door days that were dude, this was the most ridiculous situation, or just dumb?
I don't. I'm sure I do somewhere. I just try to forget those.
They're suppressed and you're already past it.
Let's just move on. Let's move past it. But I'm sure I do. There was some hard days for sure. But there were also some super rewarding days. You can make a lot of money in door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
And so there were definitely some days that were extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
But I did that for a year and a half.
While instructing at the same time.
Yeah, while instructing. So I'd instruct in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I would go sell in the afternoon.
So it's balancing family life, new daughter, starting a new business and a venture and doing sales at the same time, all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of, like you said, early mornings, late nights, you had that grit and work ethic. During that period, like, was there a skill that you were like, wow, like the Lord or whoever is like really developing me in patience, or is really developing me, my character or integrity? Like, is there a certain skill that you felt was being sharpened in that period?
Yeah, I feel like I've been blessed my entire life, and I definitely believe that the Lord is always there for us,
Yeah.
no matter what, especially if we have the faith to call upon Him to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like at that point in my life, He was increasing my just total capacity to be able to, and we talk about that all the time, is how can we increase our capacity? How can we raise the lid?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at that time, even now, right, I pray for that on a daily basis, that I can increase my total capacity, that I can learn more, and get educated in the areas that I feel like I'm struggling with, whether that's, understanding the financials of the company, understanding marketing, understanding sales, understanding, how to design X, Y, and Z, or how to build a billboard, or what we should say on the
Email
billboard.
newsletters.
Yeah, email newsletters. It's like there's constantly that seeking that guidance or that help from our Father in heaven, for sure. So.
Yeah, I love that. I'm currently in that capacity season myself. Like, that is where I'm like, over the past, I would say, year or really 6 months, it's been, dude, how do I grow?
Yeah.
How do I accomplish and do more? Because, like, I don't know, I just feel lazy all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like, I'm like, gosh, like, how are people doing so much more things? And it's like your systems, and how do you, like, I don't know. There are so many days where I'm like, dude, I'm too freaking lazy. How do I do more in capacity? And so, that's it. I love that.
Success. And so I want to be able to spend as much time with my family as possible. And my wife and I, talk about this on a daily basis, because she obviously clearly wants me home more, right?
Of course.
She loves hanging out with me. She loves spending time with me. And so do I. I love hanging out with her. I love spending time with her. I love hanging out with the kids. And spending time with the kids. But this is the point in my life where I can help grow something and build something big.
Yeah.
And then eventually be financially free, and be able to spend time with Sarah, be able to spend time with Copper, make it a point to be able to go to every single event that our kids have. And so that's where I see my future is making sure that I'm there for them on a daily basis, and that we don't have to worry and stress about, the financial obligations of life. So that's where I see success, is being able to do what you want when you want, be free, and be able to spend time with your family, which ultimately to me is greatness.
I love that. If you had to sum like 5 characteristics, so they could be like one word, like a virtue or something like I don't want to put words in your mouth, or like direct you in a way. So I'm not going to give you any examples yet. But if you had to sum it up to five words, like if you look at someone, you're like, hey, this person is great because X, Y, Z. Just what are 5 things?
Passion, drive, dedication. Passion, drive, dedication. I don't know. I would say those are definitely my top 3.
Your top 3: passion, drive.
You have to have
dedication.
passion behind whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't have passion, you're not going to be willing to spend the 12 hours a day to work on it.
Yeah.
You have to have drive, because there's going to be some days you just don't want to work up. You just don't want to wake up. You don't want to get out of bed. But you got to.
Those days do happen.
They do. They do. It's sometimes I'm sitting there at 4 a.m. and I'm like, dang, I do not want to get up. I don't want to get dressed and have to drive into work. I love it, right?
Yeah.
Once I get out of bed, once I get moving, I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm ready to attack the day. But there's some days that I just don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But I still do, right? Because I have that drive and I have that passion to accomplish my goals.
Yeah.
And then you just got to be dedicated. You have to be consistent. I would say that's another one. You got to be consistent. You got to do it day in, day out. And if you have that passion, that drive, that dedication, that consistency behind whatever you're doing, you're gonna be successful.
Dude, I love that. You and I talk a lot about compounding effects, because that's one of our goals. Is we want to have X amount of dollars in the bank, because the compounding interest on that means total freedom.
Yeah,
it's FU money. It's we can do anything we want to if we hit these goals and metrics, and it's because of that compounding effect. And so I love that. It's true. Consistency is the biggest term. If you sleep in every single day, that compounds.
Yep.
And your outcome 2 years from now is going to be a product of that compounding decision.
Yeah.
If you wake up at 4 o'clock every day and you're spending, you're working from 4:30 or 5 till 7 or 8 before you go into your day job or work or whatever, that will compound into a place of life that's a product of your decisions years down the road. So
we just talked about Kobe Bryant, right?
Yes.
Waking up at 3 a.m. versus an individual waking up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m.
Yeah.
The difference in how much you can actually get done throughout the day is drastically different. And so if you can just be consistent and do it every single day and get 1% better every single day, there's a compounding effect there that will help you be successful.
Yeah. Now, what happens on those days when you don't want to do it? How do you channel that to where you're like, I'm going to? It's not even an option. Like, I'm going to do it, even when you don't feel like it.
It's just going back to thinking about your goals. And as long as you have those goals set and what you want to accomplish, then you're gonna go in and you're gonna get it done. That's truly what I lean back on, is why am I doing it? And then if I have the why, then it's always going to overcome those times when I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I think of Aviator Edge. Before Aviator Edge, I probably woke up at like 6:37 every single day.
Yeah.
And then we started doing the 4 a.m. shoots for Aviator Edge. And I remember at first it was like, oh gosh, I wake up, I'm like, oh, I gotta like shower, I gotta get ready, I'm gonna be late, like I'm freaking out. It
wasn't even 4 a.m. shoots, it was midnight shoots. I mean, we were here at midnight shooting till 4 a.m.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. We did a lot of crazy things. Yeah. But I remember in those like early days or whatever, when we had the early morning shoots and I like didn't want to, but it's like, as we've been doing Aviator Edge for close to a year. I don't know. It's probably like 8 months or something like that, where we've done it super consistently. And so it slowly started with like, I have to then I get to.
Yeah.
And my ability to wake up has changed because I wake up at 5 a.m. regardless if we're shooting or not now.
Yep.
And that was not the case. So like I've already improved by an hour and a half and getting to start work early, but it's like there was a transitionary period where it was like, gosh, like it's just like I got to make sure I do this. And like my biggest fear in life is letting people down. And
Yeah.
so like I think about you, I think about John, now Vic, and it's like I don't want to let those guys down. So that's going to motivate me to get up at any hour or work any hours to make sure that I can help deliver at my end and not be the one that lets the team down. So that's what motivated me at the beginning was like, dude, I have to be there because I can't let these guys down.
Yeah.
But then it transitioned to like, that's just who I am now.
Yeah.
I am that person. And like, if I don't wake up at 5, I feel off. It's actually the opposite effect where it's like at the beginning I woke up early and I was like, gosh, this doesn't feel right. But now if I don't, it doesn't feel right because my body's used to it and it's the standard for who I am.
Yeah.
And so just, I love that.
Yeah.
That consistency will change your standard and who you become.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But we'll circle back and you're 16 planes, you're in there, you're dialed, you're starting all these different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about what it is to be great, the characteristics of greatness that you find. What does greatness look like for your future? So you have these businesses that you're developing, you're raising your capacity. What is greatness for your future? Where is that end goal for you?
My end goal is to be financially free.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the end goal, is to be financially free, and then just to be able to spend as much time with my family as possible.
Yeah.
And serve. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to do a better job about serving, other people and making sure that other people are taken care of as well. That's definitely one, I guess, love language of mine, is making sure that others are taken care of. Yeah. And so I truly believe that that will be my calling in life, is if I am, or when I am financially free, it's going to be the responsibility of myself to make sure I'm taking care of other people around me. So
I love that. So servant's heart. Yep. Tyler Johnson. Well, thank you for spending, I don't know how long it's been, but I love conversations like this. Has been a really good intro conversation. Any final words on just greatness and what it means and what it takes to be great?
Be dedicated, be passionate, be driven, and be consistent.
Dude.
And you can crush anything in life.
We love that. Well, thank you for your time, Tyler.
Love it. Thanks.
Boom.